Welcome everyone to another episode of the Atomic World Challenge. Today we have an exciting race coming up at the Club Motorsport Raceway. We have a field of 8 racers. If you're wondering if last week we missed an event, there was a lot of things that were going on, both locally and around the world. Some of it have obviously affected us over time and has slowed us down for being able to do a lot of stuff for the time being. But this week we were able to pull everything back together and get a good event going. And the guys that had already qualified, their qualifications still applied. So it was perfect. This week the pole was made by Crimmins 3.5. We have a Gyraffe in the second position. Sneaki Gyraffe, who runs this event, in the third position, who always comes in pole for the first time, actually comes regularly into a regular event. As always, we have the great Zeus, and then we have first place contender Bryce Hall. As you can see, missing today is Patient Zero, who qualified in a penumbra but was unable to make it to the event today. So we don't know the full details of it, but we'll see how that goes, because obviously, Bryce is in a position to pull over into the first place position with his points. Then we have, as always, the fun-loving RPM Emerald and the new joiner FX Shed as we begin the race. So if you guys remember, Club Motorsports was here in the last season. It was an awesome racetrack that we used before. We had a lot of fun. Zeus over here banging away at Sneaki Gyraffe. It was a great race at the time, and there's actually been a good amount of improvements to the race between times that we've used it. There we have a big crash in the back there. Yeah, it looked like Bryce Hall and Zeus. So as you can see, there's the tunnels and things of that nature. Look at the big crash that was Juxry's way off the course. Sneaki takes the first position up. Sneaki Gyraffe has suggested to Jux to not text and drive while he's racing. So here's RPM, and I gotta say, I love it that we have a drift tamp on the track, and actually not doing too badly. There's Sneaki hitting the little edge of the corner there. We have a little bit of grinding coming out of the first turn. Who's up in front there? So we have Crimmins taking the front position here, so we're going to keep with RPM as Bryce Hall's up in the second position there. He has a lot to earn for this track, and being as it having a good group of people here, the points could play out a huge role for him coming out of this race. And it looks like he's already bearing down on Crimmins. We can already hear some of the insanity going on behind us. Emerald in the Velier already having a couple difficulties. This is not one of the easiest cars to use on this track or in general. There are people that like it, people not too sure about it. It's always good to see, regardless, people use a new vehicle and challenge on the track. We'll move back to the FS Zeus position, see how they're doing up in the top. The pole today, part-time today, was 126. Here's RPM knocking on Zeus's door. This is also a big challenge today for coverage. One of the things that we use here is a spectator mode, and as we're going through cars, it can be difficult to get a top-down view when you have a lot of tunnels and overhead view, overhead things that can block that view. As we see Bryce Hall off in the distance, and they have to keep up with that 126 part time. So let's see where everybody's at right now. We have a 127, 127, 130, 129, 137, and 135. So Zeus has the best. So we're on the right guy here for seeing the best lap to somebody who can move up during the race here. And you can see Bryce Hall right a little bit off in the distance there. But he's got some distance to make. So while we do that, we're going to go over to Juxtree real quick, see how he's doing. Oh, he's got some major damage up on the front left side of his car. And RPM is right up on his bumper. RPM for sure. I was very impressed to see what he's going to do with a very consummate driver. He's going to do nice things with the Drift Tampa. The other thing is you have to ask what the car has for power and what it has for potential. And that's really the trick to what you're seeing, and whether he can, convert that time into something that's doable. So what we're going to do real quick is this will be a good time for us to check the times to see what have. So let's say Juxtree, for instance, here, just dropping over the line with the 128, dropping his time. I want our 130 from RPM. As you can see, that's going to be something it's going to be tough to. Crimmins with a 124. So he's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to beat with that time. And that's how things go. So let's jump back up to Zeus. Remember, again, the person that has a lot to prove today is obviously Bryce Hall, who can have some points come up. But Zeus himself has been constantly one of our highest point scorers. And it looks like Bryce has been making some moves beyond that. Let's go up to Bryce real quick. Check his coverage. It's funny because you can see Crimmins up there. Yeah, he's coming up on Crimmins. And it's funny because you see a 124 and you go, oh, well, how did he do that? And then it's all about timing. Everybody's going right on that 126 range. So I think that Bryce can, even though that 124 is there, that he can catch up with him. He's done a good job of keeping his par times down so that he doesn't end up with a handicap for any of the races, so that he can remain competitive and get good positioning at the beginning. And that plays a lot into where he's going to end up down the road. And Crimmins isn't far off from where he's at. Taking that turn a little bit out. It's not far off from the lead, though. Let's go back to RPM and see how the fight back in the RPM zone is going. So one thing is, you notice that we love doing is we love taking tracks that people have created and turning these tracks into competitive areas so that people like these guys can go on the track and show off their skills. And someone was asking earlier, how do I get my track into the season and into some sort of racing division so that we can cover it? The best thing is to obviously be involved, but submitting a race is the other option, and having us run it and see if it's something that we like. A lot of times what you're seeing is only the Atomic World Challenge. We're watching Sneaki here, who puts a lot of this together. A lot of times, you see common races of the Atomic and not really much of anything else. The reality is we do have a lot of other tracks and a lot of runs that we do that are associated with other events that we do that are able to use tracks and have tracks that are favorite. For instance, Bryce runs a series. Chewy, who everybody usually knows, runs a series. All those guys, have their own little divisions that they run and have fun with. And it's a blast to be able to use all these different tracks that people submit. And hopefully one day, if the track gets enough love and everything comes together, it'll end up going into this professional division to have guys like this run against it, and with par time and see a lot of the competition that you're seeing now. And that's really the maximum way of doing it. And these races are not picked lightly. There's a lot of testing that goes into it. Before the event was actually unlocked a while back, there was probably about 6 months to a year between what was the original AWC and what you're seeing now. And most of that was associated with picking out the tracks, making sure that they were perfect, and making sure that there was something that was competitive. And the thing is we've actually picked tracks from time to time that that players that are in it actually don't like. And somebody would say, hey, why do you guys do that? And the reason is because most of the times people run these, and the competitiveness of them, and like turns like that, for instance, these guys are making it look easy. They're very difficult to run. So we see here the 124 of Crimmins coming over, 126s from the other side. Juxrud, the 127 RPM with the 129. That doing a lot with staying in fifth with that 129 in the Drift Tampa. Then the bestie of Sneaki Emerald with the 132 in the Valier, not being able to convert with that car. The Coquette, which is a great car, Shed's having some difficulties making it happen. We drop right back to RPM. It's amazing and very cool to watch him run these and have them go. We got some traffic here as he comes up on Sneaky Gyraffe. I'm thinking he's making a move here, or did Sneaky take the inside line and run away with him? So we're actually getting some complaints too about curb boosting. Curb boosting is using those curb track sides over here to run up over on the corners and be able to gain some power off them. And it's not allowed. I know there's some people that say, well, I'm in a slower car, I want to drive a little bit faster, I'm going to use a little bit of that curb. And you can see him kind of tapping the curb there and keeping it up. And that right there would be a definitive curb boost, the way he came up on the curve like that. And that's something that's not allowed in the AWC. Really what we do in this one is to make everything nice and competitive for everybody. And a lot of times that may be car choice, but it's also based on making a time that newer players can come in and play, like FX Shed there, and still be competitive with everybody. And the one thing that I find funny too is that we'll have guys that are, consummate drivers, and you're like, okay, so how do they work in this combination? How do things convert? And it really is based on them basically handicapping themselves to get in a position where they can be competitive with everybody else, or they'll end up being moved to the pro class. B-Dogs was gracious enough to be able to stream the pro event this morning. It was really good to watch and have it come off and see how things are going in that division. Ubrose is the name of the character that actually, the player that actually won today's event in the Pro Series. He actually lapped in first position. He was able to lap the second and almost, I think, the second and almost the third place position. And but it was still a fun event to watch, and it was still fun to play in it. And that's the other problem is the pro field is a little bit, even though we have more qualifiers sometimes in it, it ends up being a smaller field overall. So let's jump up to Crimmins real quick. He is obviously dominating this race today, not caring much about his par time scores, and he's a common pro racer. Amazing looking Felser he has here. So that's the one big thing I wanted to show to everybody is the coolness of how this car looked. So let's see. So we got 124, and then see, here's the thing is Bryson against Crimmins running a 125. So he's got 1 second down. Crimmins has 2 seconds down. So they're both going to get a ding for that. Zeus is a 126. We got 127s. Still an amazing race here, and Bryce, like you said, he has something to prove here today. Really wants to bring it out and make something of this. It makes it very. That's the other thing too. Is for some people, it's those guys. They have to back off a little bit on how they drive and the cars that they drive, and it makes it so difficult for them to run. Most of the times, they have to get a handicap, and then they're off chasing the handicap. So here we see Zeus is coming up on Shed again. We are missing. Somebody was asking me about this earlier too, and I was saying we are missing a good deal of racers that we have right now. Sometimes the timing, it's just one of those things that ends up running into what they're doing or with the events in life that are happening right now. A lot of times we have to remember that this is a game and people don't have a lot of time that they can submit or dedicate to doing some of these things. Oh, and last week when we didn't have the race, we did have an exhibition race. We didn't record it because everybody wanted to be involved in it. I actually got the joy of actually running in it as well. And we did have actually a full field, so it was fun to do. And all the other thing that we're planning to add, we actually started doing a drag racing event that will be every Friday. That's going to be our Friday night drags that we brought back. It was a great event, a lot of fun to run, and it's open to anybody. Anybody can do it in dragging it. It's you end up facing everybody else in the field. And it's just a blast to drive in. And the other thing is we plan on covering that as well. So how far off? Is Crimmins even in the view anymore? We got a lot of spread out between Bryce and Crimmins, so you can see he's probably way off in the distance. We're going to move back to RPM, see how the Drift Tampa is going. I love seeing this car roll around the track. It's just, I wish, and this is something if I could tell Rockstar how to do some design work with it, is I would love to be able to see these cars be closer and more competitive. And that's the thing is a lot of times they'll put cars in different classes, and those classes won't be competitive. There's a lot of cars that got added to the Sports Classic, and we can't use them because they're in the Sports Classic class. It's kind of upsetting sometimes, but it's still they're fun to use in whatever they're using it in. But some of the main races that are created by Rockstar doesn't allow you to do much anything other than, run the cars that are in that class, and that's just not, we want a little bit more from it. So let's see Zeus again, see if he's got any kind of pull up on the Gyraffe for second and third. Yeah, and he's a solid third. So we got the 123 from Crimmins. Crimmins just pulling away. 125 from Bryce Hall. 126 is from Zeus, Juxtree, Sneaki, 127. So that 129 from, I just see what I'm saying. I want that Drift Tampa to pull just up, and that 2 seconds is not going to be able to allow him to do much with it. We'll pull back to Juxtree real quick, see how close he is to making something happen. He was associated with a big accident earlier in the day, and that was not what he needed. See if it looks like he may have fixed his damage, so he may have taken the time to fix that damage to get back in the race so he can try to catch back up again. Sometimes the damage will pull you back far enough that you won't be able to, be able to compete with the person ahead of you. And you can see that damage is been fixed up, so he's probably just fixed it up before he got back on the track. So let's go back to M Royal. We've heard complaints the whole time that Veliera was just not doing what he wanted it to do. And it's when you change, big crash as we see Royal, and he's responding it to get the damage fixed. And there's Zeus coming around for the lappage. See if he can make this cleanly through. There he moves into the position, passes him on by. So that's third to seventh. Okay, so let's move up to, let's see, so we skip RPM because we've been looking at it a lot. Let's look again for Gyraffe. So we're looking here. Oh, coming up on the edge here. Sneaki and Gyraffe. Did he take that position? I think he did. Yeah, he took that position from him. So we're going to end it up. It's got about 3 laps left here, and Gyraffe is slowing. Do we have anybody else that's dropped that one? Nope, there's the 126s. And Sneaky's damage is kind of catching up with him on the car here. So let's go. Let's jump up to Crimmins real quick. We'll run with him as he runs through the last couple of laps here and crosses across the finish line. We've already heard from Bryce that chances are the distance between those guys is going to make sure that he won't be able to catch up. So this is probably going to be the last lap here. And just enjoy the beauty of an awesome looking Feltzer. The other thing is we do have car shows, and we do like people hosting car shows with the group. And we would love for you to bring out some of your car show stuff and invite some of the crew members to play with us. It is just amazing to see some of the creations that players have and how they put things together. And we like to have a little bit of that car show concept when it comes to this event. And to be able to enjoy the look of and creativity of all the players that play in this event. It's really fun to watch it and have fun with it and see it in general. So we get Crimmins coming up as he comes around the last here as a little bit of lap traffic. Oh, close for RPM coming around the edge there. So yeah, so if you guys have car shows or any other events that you want, The Most Wanted is a great group to have it in. There's a lot of support from different groups. Remember, The Most Wanted is more like a ruling body than an actual crew. We have different guys that support other crews in other areas, and it's just great and fun to be able to be involved in everything that's going on. Crimmins slips through as he laps over RPM. So Crimmins is still, I mean, this has been an amazing run to watch Crimmins come out in front here and just dominate the lead. We're hoping to. But the other thing too is with the par time, he's probably not going to make it into the next version because with the par time score, it keeps him from being able to compete beyond the GT area, and he's got quite a handicap for his next run. But that being said, still an amazing run and very dominating. And we just see the Feltzer is still a challenging car to overcome. And that thing is, we're in the second half of the series. Bryce is where he needs to be. Whoa, look at that. Ending it with a crash. That's how you do it. Bryce is going to get some good points for the end of this, putting him in a better position. In general, he will have to overcome a handicap. Okay, so I just got announced now that was the last lap, and we're on it right now. He'll have a handicap, but it won't be too bad. And some of these guys, to get some of your handicap dropped off, it's you just run it in pro. And Crimmins dropped right at the last second. He's had a terminal engine system. Oh my God, we're jumping over to Bryce. What a change of events this has turned into. As always on the last lap, things get interesting. Here is Bryce, who has been facing off with Patient and battling over and over to get his points ahead of him. Patient actually went in a penumbra, and that sound right there is what you hear from Bryce explaining how Crimmins literally gave away his position. That is unfortunate. But for Bryce, this is dominant. This is probably going to move him into the first position in the point standings as well. Give him a win for the event. So if he's got a hurt, the pain of that 1 second is totally worth it when you pull away with the wind of it, especially when you get. So did he get? And that will put Crimmins out. He's going to actually get best lap 2. There's the finish line as he pulls across it. Congratulations to Bryce Hall for pulling in a first place on a blown out car from first position that was easily dominating the race. There's FS Zeus pulling up now from a third to a second. He needed that boost of points. Amazing race. We never a dull moment here. So there's Zeus has finished over, got his third. There's so they're coming up over the edge here. They got some distance to come around the back area here. Is he going to make that move? And banging his way through. That was an amazing little. Juxtree is notorious for his bump and runs, and he's going to take his way over here, doing a little bit of a controversial ending there as well. And here's Emerald trying to finish it up for us. Got plenty of time here. And crashing towards the end. No, he's got a lot of area to move up to. Let's see if I think RPM's going to be able to finish it in that 7-second range. Getting that Drift Tampa across the finish line alone is sort of a victory, in my opinion, but I see it didn't make it. So big congratulations to Bryce Hall, SS Zooks, Juxtree, Sneaky, RPM, Emerald, and Shed coming in 7th. Great event. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye.